Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are back at one of my absolute most favorite gardens to visit. We are at the trial gardens, the final destination for the Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. We are at the home of the owner of Spring Meadow. This is where he has extensive, gorgeous, beautiful gardens. And this is the final place where the shrubs have to come through before they can make the cut and actually become a Proven Winners shrub. We've been here a couple of times before, but we have never been here in the fall. Early October in Western Michigan, and this garden has a completely different look. And so we are so excited to show this garden to you. Now, what we're going to really focus on today are plants that we already maybe know and love, and maybe some new ones. For example, look at this. This is a beautiful hedge of the Limelight Prime hydrangeas. Gorgeous panicle hydrangea, right? It's that limelight family that we all love and adore. Well, Prime is going to be a little bit shorter, really nice, strong stems, and huge blooms on them. I know y'all do love when I use that word huge, but these things are massive. And the Primes will take on this gorgeous, pink, rose, mauve color to them. You can just see how it has that gorgeous color. Here in Michigan, of course, even right now, it is quite cool out here. I'm in jeans and a sweater and it's still a little chilly. Your panicle hydrangeas take on that pink hue when they have those cooler nights, those cooler temperatures. That can sometimes be a problem for us in the South because our nights don't cool off. So if you have one of the primes in your garden and you're not getting this gorgeous color, because I have primes in my garden and they are not nearly this kind of mauvey color, you're not doing anything wrong. It is just simply that our nights don't get cool enough, but just gorgeous. And what I love so much, and that's probably the biggest thing that I ever learned from coming to this garden, is they rarely plant things as a single. If it is a single, then it is like a big specimen plant. But look how impressive that hedge of these hydrangeas makes. This is right when you come in the driveway. There's probably, I don't know, like 12 of these hydrangeas planted together. Makes a really big impact. As soon as we turned in, we were like, oh my goodness, look at that. Now, talking about being impressive and in a mass grouping, this is one of my favorite spots, is right here in the garden, and we are dealing with the sun, so we're dancing, so we'll try to get it okay. This is the infamous, famous, gorgeous hedge of Incredible hydrangeas. Incredible, of course, is that improved version of an Annabelle. Big, huge, massive mop head blooms on it. They start out a beautiful creamy white, and then they age to this kind of lime green. So you can see how impressive all of these Incredibles are. What they have in front are the Pugster series of butterfly bushes. And just these two plants together make such a beautiful statement. You've got the Pugsters that are nice and petite. They roughly stay by like a 2x2, covered in blooms, and then behind that you have the Incredibles. You have two different kinds of plants, but they're planted en masse, and it makes a huge statement. Very, very impressive. Both of these also bloom on new growth. So that means every late winter, definitely Incredibles get pruned back by at least 1/3 to 1/4. The Pugsters can just be shaped up, but they bloom on new growth, so that means we're guaranteed to have blooms every single year, which is what we love. We like having all of this gorgeous color in our garden. Now, talking about gorgeous color, this is another one of the new introductions in the last year or two. This is Fire Fab. So Fire Fab is, again, part of that line, like there's a Fire family. Fire Fab, kind of the teenager size of the hydrangeas. Fire, of course, can be really big. Then you have Fab, and then you have little Fire. This is the earliest blooming panicle, I think, even on the market. Is that right, Jer? I want to say it is. For us at the garden center, It blooms really early and is really interesting. So right here, you can see what they look like when they first start blooming, if I can grab it. So a beautiful creamy white. Looks very much like, you know, our lime lights, little limes, just a beautiful, beautiful creamy white. Then as they mature, you can see the one in the back slowly starts to turn the pink. And then as they continue to age, you're gonna see a lot of the transition to the different shades of pink. And these older blooms have a little bit of that, I dare say it's not even brown, but that really beautiful aged look to them. Just gorgeous. And these hydrangea blooms, if you were to cut them right now, you can cut them, put them in some water and let the water naturally evaporate. That is the best way to dry your hydrangea blooms, and they will retain this color. Can you imagine using these like in Christmas decorations in your house, like dried arrangements with some like evergreen foliage? It would be stunning. But quick Fire Fab, again, planting in mass, in a grouping. When you have big open spaces like this, you can plant in multiples and it makes a big, big impact. So those are a couple right here. We're gonna go ahead and flip around. Jerry's directing me though with the sun. It's kind of late in the afternoon and the sun is perfect in some areas, and we're just gonna go around and show them to you. Now, the gardens here started at the owner's house, and then as he's outgrown and planted those gardens, he's slowly moving off to the side. So what we're going to show you now are some of the newest plantings in the gardens. The Incredibles have been here for a very long time. I don't know exactly how long, but as we move in here, you're going to notice that the plants are going to be smaller. That's just a maturity thing, right? So they are smaller. One thing that I love about how they have designed these gardens is they are beautiful and symmetrical and balanced. Very much a beautiful display garden where you've got nice, big, wide, grassy paths between the flower beds, nice angles. Everybody is very well balanced and it makes sense. So when you're designing your garden, you want to think about balance, right? So we're coming in here and we've got like U's on each side. They're planted singly, but there's one on each side. So it's like this welcoming pillars into the gardens. And then even when you look further in, there still is balance, right? So you've got two different kinds of trees. Then you come in and you've got another two kinds of trees with the hydrangeas behind it. So even though they're different plants, you still have that balance and the symmetry. So when you look at it, it doesn't feel off kilter a little bit. But coming on in here, and again, we're just gonna kind of focus on the ones that are really cool and I know that I can safely talk about. This is, again, this is the Lime Light Prime. Now this is an older hydrangea, so it's been in the garden a little bit longer. So you can see how it has a really nice, tight, upright, really strong, sturdy stems down there at the bottom. Are there some limbs that are, you know, falling over a little bit? Sure. But as these plants grow and get stronger, then that'll be taken care of, no issue whatsoever. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take you to a part of the garden that I think was literally just like planted yesterday, because there are plants in there that I'm like, you just got planted. And the reason I wanna show that to you is not specifically to show you the plants, but I wanna show you how they have designed the bed, because this is a great design tip that I took notes on, and I know that I think if you will find it as helpful as well. It's getting late. Jenny's words are starting to slur together. So we're gonna just take a quick little jaunt through the garden and we're gonna go down there. Okay, so these are the brand new beds, and I'm telling you, these plants I think were just planted yesterday. The reason that I'm bringing you here is not to talk about the specific plants, but how they have decided to lay out these flower beds. Because when they're small, you can really see the design. We always talk about groupings, right? So they have planted these plants in groups. But it's really neat. I don't even know what these plants are, other than that's a hydrangea. But they did these three plants in a straight line coming off the corner, right? Next, we have these group of hydrangeas still in a three, but now we're in a triangle. Now we come over here to this group of plants, and we've got 5 plants that are in kind of just a mass grouping together, evenly spaced out, but you've got a group of 5. Then coming along in the center of the flower bed, you've got 3 going straight across here. We're going to have some sort of tree in the middle that will give us our nice structure, and then we come back over here and repeat kind of that same idea. We've got 3 other plants in a straight row. We've got more of a 3 coming off that 5 in a triangle. Next we have another triangle, but the triangle is flip-flopped, and then back and forth. You've got your tall stuff is in the center, and then on each side you're going to work your way down. So it's just really neat to see how they have laid out the design of these beds, and you can really see it when those plants are little. So don't think that all of your plants, all of your shrubs or your perennials have to be in perfect straight rows from each other. They don't. When you switch up the design, then that's what gives your beds interest and depth and texture and makes it really interesting. And each one is still balanced, but it's planted differently, and you've got those groupings together, which really makes for a very interesting garden. Now, what we're going to do is go back up there, some other areas, and look at some more gorgeous plants that are a little bit more mature than these sweet little babies, so we can really talk about all sorts of fun things. All right, so we're going to walk through the garden. We're going to walk and talk at the same time, because there is another design that I really wanted to show you. When we first got to the gardens, Dale, the owner, was on his afternoon walk, so we got to stop and talk to him for a little bit. And there's this one area that's really neat and interesting, and so I was asking him about it, so I want to show that to you, because it's really another really cool design tip. You can see it best over here, because this is more like the entrance to the garden right here. In the center, I'm assuming this is some sort of like lilac tree. I don't know that for sure, but that's what it looks like to me. So the lilac tree, or whatever this gorgeous specimen is right in the dead center of the garden. And then they've created a garden in a circular pattern around it. Now what's so cool is that they have chosen, it looks like some type of Hydrangea down on the bottom in the front. Really nice, dark, almost black foliage. So that is the same on both sides in the front. Then next, this is, I can talk about it because it's, this plant is out. This is the Let's Dance Ariba. So a nice, you know, petite size hydrangea that'll be in that 3-foot range. And then they have continued, I believe those are, so this is the Let's Dance Skyview. There is a tag. This plant is out as well. So they have the Skyview all the way around the front center of the flower bed. And then, yep, these are Aribas as well. So you've got the Hydrangea on the front, then you've got the Aribas. So you can see these are new Aribas, and these Aribas are more mature, right? And then you have the Skyview in that same family that go all the way around, so that same hydrangea. Then behind that, what they have done, we'll come over here to a little bit more shade area. Behind the Skyview, then they've got little lime punches. So you're going from a short to a little bit of a bigger. So you've got the punches all the way around the circle. Can you imagine how like insanely gorgeous this bed is going to be, let's say in 3 years in the summertime, when you've got Skyview blooming and then you've got these guys blooming? Will be gorgeous. In the center, there's more hydrangeas. I don't know which hydrangeas these are. I know the ones in the front, it says Let's Dance Can Do. So I'm not sure if these are more of that, but just a hydrangea heaven right here. And hydrangeas do really, really well in this part of Michigan. If you haven't noticed that yet, they are stunning. Even in October, the foliage on them is beautiful. The blooms, they're still having some new blooms, and then they've got some gorgeous new buds. So like on this Ariba, look at this right here. You've got older blooms, right? One's in their prime, and then you still have some that are still coming out and even more buds. So that Ariba is very fun. So that's a great one. And then, let's see, where we were going, Jer? Okay, as we're walking through, we came across some of the Sunjoy orange pillar barberries. If you remember, we just did a nursery tour, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, where we had gotten in some of the new plants from Spring Meadow, and this is one of them. Really a nice, obviously, upright habit on it, gorgeous color. I mean, just flaming orange red color, and then when you pair it with a dark green that's behind it, it really stands out in your garden. Just a beautiful, beautiful plants. We've got some of, one of my favorite is the Sunjoy Neo, and it is over here, and you can see it across the garden because it really just stands out and pops and makes a huge impact. Now, obviously there are tons of plants in this garden, and each plant has a red stake beside of it. You might notice that. Some of those, well, they all have names on them. Some of the names we know and understand, and some of them we don't know and understand because they are still trial plants. So that's why we're not going through and talking about every single specific plant. One, if I did that, this video would be like 5 days long. But two is these are trials. Some of these are still trial plants. So it doesn't matter if I talk about them or not because they're not on the market yet. They are trialing. But the ones that we do know, we are going to talk about and point them out to you. So here we go with those beautiful, beautiful barberries. So you can see that this is more wide than it is upright. Gorgeous color to it. I mean, just flaming red. Love this. Notice it is in a group of 5. There's basically 3 on the front, and then what I call window pane, 2 behind it. So that, again, massive color pop, nice different shades of green are behind it. So you get all of that great color off of it. Gorgeous color. There's one of our customers who has the Sunjoy Neos and has it underneath, I want to say, some limelights and limelight tree maybe, and and they live like outside of Columbia, South Carolina, so hot, hot, hot. And if those barberries do really well for them, then they definitely will do well for me. So after I saw that picture, which I knew already, but I was like, I need some more, or I need barberries in my life, because we don't have any barberries planted in our garden yet. We just haven't done it. So after seeing, well, this is true. We can't keep them in stock. There's not any plants long enough that stay around that I can actually plant in the garden. But you can see with this color, totally understand why. And if you grow roses, like I have my roses, if you can handle the thorns from a rose, you can handle the thorns from a barberry. Now, is this one plant that I would recommend you just take your hand and just rake your hand through? No, we wouldn't do that with the rose. Don't do that with the barberry. But the color is worth the pain, people. So that's what we're going to go with. Now, there is a really fun tree that I want to show you. We kept going through the garden going, is this it? Is this it? And then we're like, aha, we finally found it because it has the name tag on it. So we're going to pop over to the other side of the garden and show you this really great tree. Okay, so here we have a gorgeous Temple of Bloom. Temple of Bloom is the Seven Suns flower. It is a tree. It reminds me very much of a crepe myrtle in that it has, multiple trunks coming out of it. It has blooms that start out white, and I don't know if Jerry can show you. There are some white blooms, and then they age to this really pretty reddish burgundy color, and the pollinators love it. It is kind of chilly and windy here today. It is the end of the afternoon, but I do see some bumblebees and some honeybees up at the top. But this is a really neat, interesting specimen of a tree. Very different. I've had one of our great customers, Tina, she found one of these and added it to her garden, sent me a text, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, Jenny, if you don't have one of these in your garden, you need to get one ASAP because covered in pollinators, and she said it is absolutely gorgeous and exquisite. We did get some in at the nursery on one of those last shipments, so I did snag one for myself. I think I'm going to put it in on one of the new projects. But that Temple of Bloom, if you get a chance, grab it. It is a little bit on the slow side growing, but I think it's going to be one of those that's going to be worth the wait because it just brings a different texture and interest to our gardens, especially if you're like the look of a crepe myrtle, but you don't want a crepe myrtle. So this would be a really fun one to add to your garden. Now we're going to go over to what I would say is some of the more mature gardens, big, huge, beautiful shrubs and trees. Cannot wait to show those to you. One of the things that I love about Dale's gardens is that he has these huge mature trees of all different shapes and sizes, different kinds of trees, but they're massive, right? Huge mature trees, and they keep them limbed up. Therefore, they have the appropriate amount of sun for plants that need that sun, that maybe they're called, you know, full sun plants, but they also get a break from the afternoon heat. And it just brings a whole maturity to this garden. Now, speaking of maturity, I want to show you a hydrangea that we all have been very, very excited about. And there is a black squirrel. I have never seen a black squirrel before. I'm sorry, it just went across. Maybe we got in the shot or not, but there was a black squirrel that went running through there. See, there he is. He's fussing at me. I'm sorry, y'all, I just got so distracted. Okay, here we go. We have got the little lime punch next to a pufferfish. So here we have pufferfish that is, I would dare say, is a mature sized pufferfish because it can be 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. So it's called pufferfish because big, huge blooms that has a little tuft on the end. So you will see this little, I don't know, 2-inch tuft at the tip of each of the blooms. Now, keep in mind, this is October, and you know, we're all sometimes looking a little sad at the end of the day. These have these beautiful aged look to them. They have a little bit of pink, but they mostly have stayed that creamy white to the lime color. Just a nice, really full habit. I was actually in here trying to figure out like how much they had pruned it, and they do prune it back. You can see the cuts, that 1/3 to 1/4 every late winter. That's what gives you the nice strong stems to hold up these big, huge, massive blooms on them. But the evergreens in here, and I don't even know what these are, so don't ask me what they are. Just appreciate the beauty of these huge, gorgeous trees. Like, look at this. Are these not gorgeous? So if you're looking for some, you know, privacy in your garden or different structure, these are great. Like, go to your local garden center and ask them, what are some great evergreens that will do really well in my garden? Now, I'm gonna switch. This is where Jerry has to stay on his toes, and I'm gonna tiptoe through the garden because over here, talking about a completely different evergreen, fun structure in your garden. Like, look at these three. These are totally Dr. Seuss trees as far as I'm concerned. Really fun, interesting texture to them. Completely different than the other evergreens we were just looking at, but really nice. I love them. I don't know what they are. They're gorgeous though. Really fun. They've got a couple of different crab apples in here, which have been fun to look at. We don't have any crab apples, but I'm really interested in these because they're nice and skinny and tall, and of course they do have the fruit on them. Really fun. This is a great shot just to kind of show you the vastness and the symmetry of the gardens here, because here we are on the more mature side of the gardens, but you have a straight, clear shot all the way back to the brand new gardens, and even where they're probably going to be expanding and adding more gardens where you can see that white wall. But everything is a nice straight line. All of these beds have that same ending point. So we have the nice width that goes through here. It makes it very balanced. And by seeing all the different, knowing all these little nooks and crannies, that there are, you know, treasures to be found in there. So that is something to be thinking about when you're designing your garden. Now, most of us do not have, you know, this size of a space to add, you know, to have your gardens. But no matter what your size is, you can create little nooks and crannies and rooms within that garden that give you that interest and that little bit of air of mystery where you want to go and explore. Oh, well, what's behind that tree? Or, oh, what's behind that shrub? I want to see that. Oh, I see a little pop of color somewhere. Let's go and explore and see that. That is what makes these mature gardens so fun and interesting, because you're constantly discovering new plants and new designs. There is a soft serve tree We saw it somewhere in this garden, and I want to go back and find it because that is one of the plants that we just got last week, a week ago, and I want to show it to you as a more mature plant because I loved it in just a 1 little gallon container. So I want to show it to you as a more mature tree. Okay folks, we found it. So this is the beautiful, I dare say close to being mature size, soft serve, gorgeous tree. Imagine my sweet little 1 gallon turning into this. Hopefully that will happen given some time, but this is just an absolute beautiful specimen of a tree. I really like how, one, it is very soft, so you can absolutely come in here and rub your hands over it, but I like how the limbs, the tips, they have kind of, they're downturned. It just gives it a nice little different texture to it. They're not, pointing and poking up, just have nice little curve to them, and the whole tree has that. So it just gives it a softer appearance. Really fun, gorgeous. Can you imagine this at Christmas time with lights on it? Oh man, it would be absolutely stunning. It's stunning by itself, but then at Christmas, you just take it up a notch. Little quick fires. Little quick fire hydrangeas have been around for a long time. Love this hydrangea. We have them at our house, and it's just interesting to note that the quick fires, look how open these blooms are, as opposed to like pufferfish or like the limelights. So they're much more open and airy, and you can just really see in there. Also, just the color of the stems is almost a black. So it brings a lot of nice, texture and different color difference to the plant. But quick fires are also one of those that start out that beautiful creamy white and then will slowly mature to this rose mauve color. Mine don't turn quite this pink, right? I do get a little bit of pink in them, but not nearly the amount that these have. If you notice that yours typically tend to go brown, like in the south because of our hot, humid nights, what you can do is after they bloom and they're beautiful, you can either go in and give the plant a gentle prune, or if you want to selectively cut flowers off of it to like make a bouquet. Our season is so long that they will rebloom this time of year with brand new fresh blooms. So you could have older blooms and fresh white ones, or if you did an overall light trim, you could have brand new blooms on the whole plant. But little quick fire is great. Lilacs, this is the bloomerang purple, just the plain purple. I say plain, you understand what I mean. But it is blooming again. That is the thing about the bloomerangs, is that you can get another flush of blooms off of them, and they have just a delicious fragrance to them. Like those of you that grew up with lilacs and know them, just really nice. Now, this is another plant that we were sent, and if I were to ever get my elderberry, this is the black lace. This thing is positively exquisite, gorgeous. I mean, black leaves on it that's really kind of that dissected look, really nice shape and structure to it, just stunning. I mean, this thing is beautiful, and it is just one plant. So this is a very mature elderberry. That black lace, you bring that in for the color difference. Reminds me a lot, like I told you when we did that video, it reminds me a lot of like a Japanese maple look to it. So if you can't grow Japanese maples, maybe you want to try an elderberry. Really pretty. And then let's see, there was something else we were going to show. What else was it we were going to show, Jer? I can't remember now what it was. All right, we're gonna go find another plant and we're gonna show that to you because there's so much here that we wanna show you. And it's just such a fun trip. All right, so we just looked at the soft serve. Now we have the soft serve gold. Is this not gorgeous? A nice, big, bright pop of color out here. It is just, she's a beaut. So we're gonna go on down here because there's a couple of things down near the river that I want to show you that I think you will really find interesting and maybe helpful in your garden. If you've been around Creekside for any length of time, you know that we love the sprinter boxwoods. They are just a great evergreen shrub, very versatile, do great in our climate. But some people just don't like boxwoods, and that's okay, right? We all have our likes and our dislikes. A great alternative to a boxwood is this gem box. And it is a type of holly, but you may not think of, you know, a holly like this because it is very soft to the touch. And what they have done here is they have planted it in a mass grouping together to give this beautiful hedge. And they have, you know, there's some maintenance involved in this, but you can see all of this beautiful new growth. But this is a great option for an evergreen that will stay relatively small. It's not going to get huge and massive, but you can see how they have just come in here and edged this flower bed with this. They have some Wygelia in the back. Then there's roses of Sharon back here. Again, you're working from the low to the medium to the high, but those gem boxes are really beautiful plants. And when you kind of regularly maintain them, they get a really nice, thick, full appearance to them that are gorgeous, evergreen structure in your garden year round. Obviously, we are right here on the banks of the Grand River. It is a Sunday afternoon and we've had lots of boaters and jet skiers going by, but this is just an absolutely gorgeous view. Of course, I mean, how can you not love this garden? And then you put a river through it, it's just fabulous. So we are going to sign off for today because there's still a lot of things that we have to do, and we are excited to share this garden with you yet again in a different season. It has been really fun for us to come here at the beginning of October and see how the garden has matured and changed throughout the seasons and all of the fun new plants that have been added to it. Hopefully we will be able to come back again in the future to give you even more updates on this garden. And as always, we so appreciate the folks at Spring Meadow for being so gracious and allowing us to come and film these gardens. Such a massive inspiration. Who knew that you could have these most gorgeous, interesting gardens with shrubs, all these different kinds of shrubs. It is an inspiration for sure. So as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day and we'll see you in the next video. Bye friends.